Hey, my Pilates people, welcome to my channel, Connect and Move. My name is Jessica. I am looking forward to this session I have for you today for a couple reasons. First, I just got some new lighting, so I'm really hoping that this makes the picture look a little bit better, a little bit brighter, and maybe just a little bit more professional for you guys. Second, this is a 1000% full body session today, right? I'm trying to hit every muscle in your body, okay? Gonna move a little bit faster today. A lot of changes, a lot of moving around the reformer, not too much kneeling, but we are gonna be doing some standing on our box. So 1 foot on the box, 1 foot on the carriage. With that being said, you will need your box for today. And nothing else, right? Just your box, your reformer, and of course your beautiful self. For springs to start, I'm gonna start with 2 mediums and a light for today. So not crazy heavy, not crazy light. For my balanced body, that is 2 reds and a blue spring. Okay, so foot bar is up in your footwork position, headrest is up in your favorite position as well. And then let's go ahead and lie down and get moving. All right, as always, please make sure that you are centered on your carriage. Maybe turn your head from right to left. I know a lot of you who've been taking my classes for a while, you hear me say that every time, but it is so true. We think we're centered and we're not when we check. So always take your time to do that. Let's start with toes on and hip socket distance apart. So because we're on the lighter spring, I want you to slide your toes a little bit more on top of the foot bar. So that way we can get a little bit more of a press down into the foot bar. So my heels are not crazy high. They're somewhere in the centered here. I'm gonna stretch my arms down and into the mat and feel that long, heavy tailbone and also draw down through the base of my ribs. So I should feel kind of that bra line base of the ribs area really sinking heavy into the mat. And then on your next inhale, can you press the carriage out? Can you keep all 10 toes pressing down into the foot bar and then pull the carriage home? So if you feel like you're about to slip off of the foot bar, you're in the right spot. It's gonna feel a little weird, especially if this is your first time playing around with this position, but it will happen, it will come. The reason behind it is I want you to try and fire up through the back of the legs a little bit more as opposed to just going all quads. And no matter where you're at, right, no matter where your feet are at, you're still holding your spine and your pelvis stable. And you're still working on that kind of pull down on the foot bar here. Every toe pad stays connected. I don't know about you, but my right big toe is just, I don't know, it just keeps lifting up. Let's do 3 and 2. And last one, go ahead and press it all the way out. Keep your toes wrapping up and over. Now push your heels down and under the foot bar and then lift your heels right back up. See how big you can make your range, keeping your toes more on top of the foot bar than in front. So we're working our legs, our lower leg bones in both directions here. And then imagine you've got a little ball between your inner ankle bones. So there's a little bit of hug there, a little bit of inner thigh activation. Let's do 3 and 2. And last one, lift the heels, bend your knees, come all the way home. Let's slide up onto the arches. Still about hip socket distance apart. Before you wrap the toes over, I want you to push the heels down and under. So it's a strong flex of the feet. And now curl the toes over and then press the carriage out and then drag it home. Thighs should still be in that parallel position throughout the whole movement here. And then just to add on, just to layer on, think of the inner edges of your heels reaching down and under and the big toes wrapping up and over, almost as if they could both meet on the opposite side of that foot bar. Again, trying to tap into more of the back body here rather than going all quads. Now, I want you to bring the carriage in halfway and hold here. This sensation of your feet, this sensation of big toes reaching up and over, inner edges of heels reaching under, can you keep that on your left foot and then bring your right leg up in the tabletop. Can you still find that sensation here? And now we press the carriage out and then drag it in. I don't know about you, but my foot is like immediately wanting to cave in here. And just keep moving out and in. It's okay if your leg doesn't fully straighten on the out. I feel like mine doesn't quite want to. Keep the big toe going up and over. Keep the inner edge of your heel reaching down and under. And I'm only saying that again out loud because I can feel myself starting to lose it. That left kneecap is facing straight up to the sky. Last one here. Bring the carriage in halfway. Place the right foot down. Before you lift that left leg up, get your right leg sorted. Get the right heel under, right big toe over. Left leg up, and again, pause here. Let's just add on even more. Like, can we get level in our hips? Can we get level in our ribs and our back? And then we press it out and then pull it home. So we're still working the pull home. There's so many things happening right now. And I will tell you, this is definitely my flatter foot, my arch that just not as strong, or I guess should say tight, as the other side. So much focus happening. Upper back is equally weighted into the mat here. Anybody else feeling some lower leg bone stuff? Maybe some arch, maybe even some inner thigh here. Let's do 3 and 2. And last one, go ahead and bring it all the way in. Go ahead and place both feet down. Let's take the heels wide onto the foot bar, and let's have a pretty healthy turnout here of the legs, all right? So my tailbone is still heavy. My ribs are still down. I'm gonna flex my feet hard. Really pull the pinky toes back, and driving right through the center of your heels, go ahead and press the carriage out and hold right here. I want you to think of those upper thigh bones really spiraling out, almost as if you were trying to open up the front of your pelvis. And then keep that sensation as your knees bend, bring it all the way back in. And not only are you driving right through the center of your heels, do you have equal weight, equal work between right and left leg? Sometimes that's tough to figure out. And now continue moving, but can you see how far you can turn your toes looking away from one another? Almost as if they were on a line. And then even if you're not quite on that line, start to just tap into your granny panty muscles here. I've done this in a few other workouts where we bring the feet a little bit closer together. So if you've done that before with me, just find that same work here. So bring the carriage in halfway and hold. Point those knees away from one another so much, right? They're in an argument right now, but keep your ribs heavy, keep your tailbone long. And now little pulses here, little pulses here. If you're tight at all in your hips, you might be getting kind of a stretch in your inner thighs. I think it feels magical. I'm kind of like, yeah, I can feel my booty. I can feel those things, but the inner thigh stretch feels magical right now. Let's do 3 and 2 and 1. Go ahead and press it all the way out. Try to keep the kneecaps looking away from one another, and then resist as the carriage comes all the way back in. Awesome. Let's drop your headrest down. Maybe slide away from the blocks a little bit here. Give yourself some space. Let's come onto the heels, but more like hip socket, shoulder width distance apart. All right, arms are anchored down here. Find that sensation of pulling the carriage into the stop, or take a big breath in. And then on your exhale, wheel the pelvis back. Find your butt cheeks. Roll your hips up to your bridge today, and pause at the top. How soft can you keep your chest right now, but how high can you lift your butt creases up away from the floor? And then keep the lift of your cheeks for as long as you can, and then melt your spine all the way down, down, down. Oh, I feel like I'm so close to getting a pop in my back. Roll your hips up. Equal weight right through the heels, right through the center of the heels. Pause once again here at the top. I want there to be some space in the front of your throat, or it should just feel like you can breathe here, right? Maybe the arms get a little bit longer and heavier into the mat, and then the torso is gonna come down before your hips. Torso comes down before your hips, all the way down, down, down. Beautiful. Last one like this. Roll your hips up, find your butt crease muscles, and once again, pause at the top. Think pubic bone higher than your 2 hip points. How stable can you keep your pelvis and carriage, and bring your right leg up into tabletop, and then lower it right back down. Left leg up. Make this transition smooth like room temperature butter. Talk to your butt crease muscles here. Otherwise, those hammies are gonna wanna be the star of the party. If you're looking to make things harder on yourself, the arms could go up to the sky. But either way, you guys know the deal. You're creating as much space between your fingertips and your chest as you can. 2 more here. Keep trying to lift the butt cheeks up or the butt creases up. Place the feet back down. Get yourself reorganized. And now can you press the carriage out a little bit and pull the carriage back in? So as you go out, try not to let the butt cheeks lower anymore. In fact, the butt creases are trying to lift up higher. I'm talking a lot about the butt creases and the cheeks a lot lately. But for most of us, we need work there. Need to tell the hamstrings to chill out for a little bit and tell the booty to come to the party. For 3 and 2. And last one, go ahead and pull the carriage all the way in, and then torso down before your hips, torso down before your hips, all the way down, down, down. Beautiful. You can hug your knees into your chest. You can rock your legs from side to side. Do what feels good here. Okay, so for ab work today, I want to challenge you to come lying across your reformer. Now, if you know that you need head and neck support, highly recommend keeping your head on your headrest, kind of like how we did for footwork. Otherwise, I'm gonna come lying kind of sideways diagonal on my carriage, okay? So maybe Buddha will be my headrest. So know that like when you're lying like this, or even perpendicular on your carriage, you have no head and neck support. So wherever you're at, all right, get your tailbone heavy, bring your knees into your chest, grab onto your right shin, extend your left leg out. Head, neck, and shoulders can be up. It's totally up to you, all right? And then switch. Pull the other knee in, give it a good pull in as the opposite leg stretches out, and switch. So really work the opposition from knee to toes here. And wherever you're at, we're trying to keep that torso super stable, super stable. Elbows are wide, so it's more upper back and arms, not neck. For 2, done a lot of these. Last one, bring your knees in. You're a tiny little ball. Stretch the arms and legs away from one another. We hold. 2, 3, circle the arms, reach for your thighs, and bend your knees all the way in. Again, arms and legs stretch away. Arms circle, reach for your thighs, and bend the knees all the way in. If you're lying across your carriage, next one's for you. Arms and legs go out. Keep your legs out there. Can you let your head go back, maybe find a baby extension, and then curl the head, neck, and shoulders up, circle the arms around, and then hug everything back in. One more like that. Arms and legs stretch out. Let the head, arms go back. Try to keep your tailbone heavy. Ribs are still heavy. And then lift up, circle the arms around, hug everything back in. Right leg goes up, left leg goes out. We're gonna pull the leg in as the leg also pushes into the hands. And switch, and switch. So especially for my flexible people out there, I want you to work on bringing the leg over the hip and bring your chest up to the leg. You could still do that if you're tight. Gets more into the abdominals, requires a little bit more control. For 2 and 1, bring the legs straight up, zip the legs up together, hands behind your head.
Elbows are in your peripheral, think wide back. Push the legs down and away, and then lift the legs up. Remember, you can always have your head down. Push the legs down, and then lift the legs right back up. Stable, stable spine. Woo, it's burning. Last one, send the legs out, find parallel. Left knee in, right armpit up and over. And switch, crisscross. Keep your head in line with your center. A lot of times we want to roll over to the right and to the left. Stay with me. Ooh, can you get that leg a little bit lower? A little bit lower for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug the knees in. Roll yourself all the way up. Oh, yeah, that was something, all right? That was something. Okay. I am gonna come down to 1 medium spring. So that is a red spring for me. Headrest can stay up, or come back up rather. And let's go ahead and lie down. Are we warm? I hope so. Oh my goodness. Okay, so once again, make sure that you're centered. Let's reach back and place your short straps on your feet. However you wish to get there. Make sure your straps are closer to your heels than your toes. Arms are long, down by your sides, with your knees into your chest and in this kind of like Pilates V froggy position. Feel how the weight right now is like, can really get into your ribs. I want you to keep the weight into your ribs and now press the legs out and away and then bend the knees back in. Press the legs out, sink the ribs, sink the ribs, sink the ribs, and then pull the knees back in. So think of this as almost an extension of the ab work that we just did. And if you're feeling anything in your low back right now, I want you to find an imprint, but I want you to find a long imprint, meaning we're not tucking our pelvis to get our back into the mat. It's more of using our stomach muscles to sink the belly, sink the back, sink the ribs. Now send the legs out to that working angle and hold here. Maybe release some tension from the neck, from the shoulders. And now find more of a parallel position with your legs. Float the legs up, up, up. And now open the legs out. They lower down, keep the weight into your ribs, and then bring the legs back together. So it's a light spring, which means it's not very supportive. So your circles might have to be a little bit smaller. That same deep connection to your ribs or to the mat that we did in that frog, try to find it here. Next time your legs are up, let's reverse. I told you lots of changes today. Think of the back of your ears sliding to the wall behind you, so there's a little nod to your chin. I lose that connection a lot. Last one here with your legs up at your 90. Fabulous. Go ahead and just flex your feet here. Maybe get a little hammy stretch, pull your pinky toes back to your face. And now think of there being a ring on the outside of your ankles here. I want you to push wide into that imaginary ring. Go so wide that you get a nice inner thigh stretch. And now find a turnout and then bring your heels together. Let's go back to parallel. We flex the feet, push the heels wide away from one another. Carriage is pretty still throughout this whole shebang. And then we turn the legs out, heels come together. So we're going from parallel, legs go out. And then we go to a Pilates V as the heels come together. You could even exaggerate it even more. And as you press the legs out, you could find more of an internal rotation. Again, the ribs are still heavy. The spine is still really stable. But those kneecaps, the top of your thighs should be rotating in, rotating out. Last one here, I promise. And now bring the legs together. Bend your knees in. Now let's take your hands to the short loops. Okay, so might take some finagling to get into. I want you to bring your arms down to the mat. If you cannot grab on to the edge of the mat, I want you to wiggle yourself down a little bit. Like I want there to be a good grip
on the edge of the mat here. Okay, so from here, just keep your knees into your chest or kind of a tabletop position. And now I want you to curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Look down at your low belly. I'm still holding onto the edge of the mat. I'm gonna bend my elbows to maybe try and curl up a little bit higher. So my legs have to shift away from me a little bit in order for that to happen. Okay, so my low back is into the mat, my upper body's off the mat, and I can barely feel my low ribs into the mat. Check, 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 check. Okay, stay here. Can you let go of the mat? And now reach your arms forward. The crown of your head should feel like it's on the ceiling. And now, can you send both legs away from you a little bit? And then pull them back in. Both legs away from you, and then pull them back in. The temptation here, I'm already feeling it, is I'm starting to shift back, almost like I want to lean back, but I want you to think of going up and over your belly and try to lean more forward. Keep reaching out through your arms, out through the straps for 2. And 1, bends the knees in, all the way in, lower everything down, arms come up. Whew, okay. Hang them up. Let's go ahead now and roll you up. We're gonna stay on the 1 medium spring. Headrest is gonna come all the way down. We're gonna now flip you around and face your risers. Legs are gonna go through the shoulder blocks. All right, make sure that there's maybe 2 palms distance behind your booty and the edge of the mat here. And we're gonna grab onto the short loops. Okay, so you're gonna bring your fists together, almost like you're bringing your rings together into your sternum. Your elbows are gonna reach wide and forward, so I can really feel my shoulder blades pull away from my spine. And now from here, I'm gonna sit up tall. The legs are crossed if you need them to be. I want your legs to be hugging together, but also pushing down into the mat, all right? From here, arms come with you. Roll your pelvis away from your thighs. Roll back, stretch back, and pause in your half roll back, 3/4 roll back, whatever you wanna call it, right? It's like I'm trying to get the waistband of my pants into the mat, all right? And I'm just gonna hold here for a second. I'm just gonna see how deep can I pull that pubic bone back to my navel, maybe relax the neck a little bit more, and then just roll yourself up and over. Now I want you to round forward. Keep your hands at your sternum, just round forward, and then imagine you're under a low ceiling. Roll yourself back, keep the legs hugging together, roll back, maybe you go back a little bit further this time, stay looking down your center line, and then roll yourself up and over, keep the weight into your hips as your head goes forward. Again, roll yourself back, 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 find that challenging place. Keep your chest where it's at, but tilt your pubic bone back further to your navel. Now your fists are gonna stay together. You're gonna reach the fists away from you a little bit and then curl the arms back in. I know I've taught this before, it's been a while though, but it's kind of like this weird bicep curl from the side, but it's also a shoulder girdle stability exercise along with abs, right? For 2 and 1, keep the fists at your sternum, roll yourself up and over, lift up and over, keep the weight into your hips as your head comes forward, get a stretch. Alrighty, uncross, recross your legs if they are crossed. All right, now I want you to bring the arms up to 90. Okay, so my palms are facing to the wall behind me, and I'm trying to sit up as tall as I possibly can. Just check your neck, right? And I want you to find kind of that long imprint that I talked about earlier, right? So it's a long tailbone, my ribs and my low back are kind of reaching into an imaginary mat, and my head is on my headrest. I'm gonna take this shape and now go back, stretch back, and then lift myself right back up. If you feel this in your back in the wrong places, pull your ribs in deeper. It's gonna feel like you're rounding a little bit, and that's okay. Because I'd much rather you hold a more rounded shape where you're more into your stomach as you go up and down, rather than feeling this in your back. Let's do 2. And last one, keep the elbows hugging in a little bit more narrow. And then come all the way up, extend the arms out, and now bicep curl here. So I'm still sitting up tall, My elbows are still reaching forward, and the triceps, the back of my arms, feel like they're reaching away from my body. Shoulder girdle is stable. So working arms, working upper back here. Let's do 2. A last one, reach the arms out, flip the palms facing down. And now I'm gonna reach my arms down and back and pause. Here's my chest expansion. Could I make my arms a little bit longer? Could I also sit up a little bit taller? The answer is always yes, right? And now reach the arms forward. Let's do that again. Press the arms down and back. We get a little bit taller, and then arms reach forward. So notice the weight in your hips right now. Notice if we're kind of rocking forward, rocking back, we're trying to keep our torso super stable as the arms glide down and back. Now hold the arms down and back and hold. Hug the arms in or the hands in towards your reformer. Turn your head to the right. Turn your head to the left. Turn your head to center and then slowly release. Last one, ribs are in, you're sitting up tall. Turn to the left. Turn to the right. Turn to center and then slowly release. Awesome, hang up your straps and just round forward for a second. Maybe kind of rock from side to side. Okie dokie. Let's get our box. Before we get our box, forgive me, let's change it to a light spring. So light spring for me is a blue spring. It is not my lightest spring. Okie dokie. So box, we're gonna grab it. I'm gonna place it long ways to the side of my carriage. So looking at my mat here, my box is kind of centered there. So it's not all the way by the front leg of your reformer. Now, if you have a really short reformer, you probably don't need your box for this, okay? So I'm gonna step up here. My right foot is gonna come onto the box really close to the frame here. And then just remember you have your foot bar here. So my heel is gonna go up against the shoulder block and my thighs are somewhat in line with one another, right? So they're not split. Now, I had a great question from somebody the other day, and she was talking about how her big toe bothers her and just that area where we bend at the toe when we do lunges. So another option is to take the foot up onto the shoulder block, right? So your toes can hang long. It does make it a little bit harder. You pick, okay? So let's get moving, y'all. Find a strong connection through your back heel no matter where you're at, and just go for a lunge. And just pause here. So my front knee is bent, my back leg is trying to go straight. I know I don't do a great job at that. And just pause here. Think of your right hip going back, left hip spiraling forward a little bit. And if you're like me where the low back gets a little cranky here, I'm just gonna pitch forward a little bit. And already it's like, low back is much happier here. So this is where I wanna hit, all right? And then I just bring the carriage right back in. It's not gonna come all the way back in, that's okay. Ooh. So see if you can find a strong tripod connection through that right foot and keep it like that as we lunge up and down. And even if your foot is on top of the shoulder block, I still want you to keep driving your heel back. So I'll even switch it up to that so you guys can see that. All right, so as I go back, I'm gonna still think of my heel going back as I come right back in, right? And my spine is staying nice and long, ribs are in. Now I want you to go into that lunge and hold here, okay? I want everybody to round their upper body. Maybe take your hands on top of your butt cheeks here and kind of slide them down a little bit, okay? So I can really feel this tractioning of my tailbone down and the space in my low back open up. I'm gonna bend my back knee in and then press it out. Bend the back knee in and press it out. So my right leg is super stable. I'm lifted up through my ribs and my tailbone feels like it's kind of tucked between my legs. You wanna make this harder? You lower down deeper into that lunge, all while trying to keep your right leg, right hip stable. Let's do 3. And 2, and 1. Bring the carriage in just halfway here. Can you lower down a little bit more and then lift back up? Lower down a little bit more and then lift back up. Your right hip, right? I'm hoping that it's talking to you a little bit here, right? Carriage is relatively stable. Let's do 3. Whew. Can we go a little bit lower? 2. And last one, go ahead and stand it all the way up. Awesome. Okay, I'm now gonna turn and face away from you. And then I'm gonna place my left foot on top of the shoulder block here. So I've got a turnout, a little baby turnout on my right foot. I might change that, I'm not sure, okay? So my tailbone once again is heavy, and I'm really thinking of like the front of my hips and pelvis opening up to the wall in front of me. I don't care what you do with your arms. All I want you to do is just press that carriage out, and then you push down on the shoulder block to glide it back in. So hold here on the in for a second. I'm going to push down on the shoulder block, almost as if you're about to step up onto something going to your left. Feel how that maybe activates the back of that left leg a little bit more. Keep that activation, and now press the carriage out a little bit, and then pull it like it's going to pull under you. Now to deepen the work in that left leg, maybe I lean to the left a little bit. Now, in this lean, the carriage might not come all the way in, and that's okay. But I don't know about you, but for me, the more I lean over to the left, the more of a stretch I'm getting in my inner thigh, but also the more work I'm feeling on the left leg. And I'm trying to keep my left heel somewhat lifted. And then maybe I could lean over a little bit more. My right leg is still strong. Oh, there we go. And I even just felt my right booty kick on. Try to control it for 3 and 2 and 1. Now I want you to find just a strong, stable position with your left leg. It can be straight, it can be bent, it's up to you. All right, keep it stable though. Can we glide out a little bit? So I'm gonna lean to the left and then pull myself back up. I'm gonna lean over to the left a little bit and think of both inner thighs kind of drawing in to lift myself right back up. And in order to stay square for me personally, I'm having to think of my left rib cage going forward, right rib cage spiraling back a little bit. It's a lovely stretch. I'm hoping you guys are finding that, but I'm feeling work for sure. Tailbone is dropped. Let's do 2. Ooh. Last one, test the waters, and then pull it back in. Okay, that was nice. Ooh, I just got a little hip pop there. Okay, so now I'm gonna come down, kneeling on my carriage here. My toes are on my gray platform, and they're pretty close to the edge here. Like they're pretty close to the left side of my platform. I'm gonna come down to my right forearm. Now, when you're here on your right forearm, it's not in a perfect like 90-degree angle. I've got it angled kind of at a 45-ish, okay? Left hand is gonna go onto the box, okay? Please move your box, move your hand as you need. All right, so I'm gonna think of lifting up through my chest, lifting up through my ribs, so my right chest is up away from the box as much as I can, or up away from the pad here. Go ahead and just lift the knees up, press yourself out to a plank. So right now my left hand is behind me, that's okay, because I'm trying to get a little bit more weight into my right arm than anything. Bend the knees, bring the carriage home, right? You can keep going, or you can move your box forward, right? And then we just kind of glide in and out. So as you're doing this, I want you to see how much weight can you shift into that right forearm, because obviously it's not very nice on the wrist as I'm like going forward and back, right? Now go forward and hold here. Lift up as much as you can through that right rib cage. Can you stay square? I'm gonna have to separate my feet a little bit. Can I take my left hand off? Ooh, I'm trying to stay square, trying to stay square. Take the hand down, bend the knee, bring it in, press it right back out. Can you take the hand off? Try to stay square. I'm leaning for sure. Hand comes down, knees bend in. Last one, take it out. Take the hand off. Do whatever you gotta do. Can you twist a little bit? So I'm twisting to my left and then back to center. My left hand right now is my kickstand. It's assisting me, and then back to center.
Lots of good shoulder work. Anybody else breathing as heavy as I am right now? I'm pivoting on my feet and I'm trying my best to keep my hips low. I could tell they were all the way up there. For 2. Last one, bend the knee, bring it all the way in. Stuffing things, right? Okay, so let's now take your box on, short waist, up against the shoulder blocks. Still staying on that one light spring, that one blue spring. All right, so I'm gonna come lying down on the box. Just be mindful of your foot bar there. So my pelvis is on the box here. My hands are just onto the frame. And I'm just gonna kind of get myself sorted. Like, do I feel supported on the box right now? Do I need to come forward or back here, right? So I want you to feel the reach out through your toes, the reach of your pubic bone into the box, and then feel how that might activate your booty a little bit more, maybe activate the legs, and also feel that you could lift your low belly up off the box, even if it doesn't happen, right? You're just imagining that. That's your support system for your low back that you need, okay? So let's just go ahead and keep that. Walk yourself up. You're gonna find your uprights or your risers, right? So I have my tower here, that's what I'm holding on to, but if you have these things that your ropes are attached to, that's what you're gonna grab onto. So my palms are facing in right now. My legs are just reaching behind me. They're neither forced apart, neither together. They're just there. All right, my elbows are pointed down, and then I'm just gonna pull myself forward. I'm gonna go as far forward as I can. Just don't smash your head on anything. And then slowly release back out. Elbows kind of reach down and then back, and then hold here. Can you create a little bit more space between ears and shoulders? And now keep the space in your neck as the arms come forward and you glide back. Elbows reach down and then back. Try to find your armpit muscles here. Now, having your arms or your hands up too high, that's gonna create more extension in your back. Having them too low might, I don't know, feel a little weird. So their hands are kind of in line with the rest of your torso here. For 2. And last one. All right, now I want you to take your hands onto the inside of your uprights here. And now I just want you to hang back. Just let yourself kind of collapse. And just breathe here for a second. Okay. Thumbs with fingertips here. Let's restack everything. Okay, so pubic bone is down, low belly is lifted. Now when you row yourself forward, I want you to think of pulling apart on those uprights. And then keep that pull apart as you come back. I always think of The Shining here. I really do. I think of like peering through that broken door and pulling it apart. So think wide back more than anything. And again, sides of the neck are nice and long. I'm hoping you're feeling things, I hope. And gaze is just a little forward and of course down. Last one here. And then slowly guide yourself out. Take your hands to the frame and let's carefully walk ourselves all the way back in. All right, let's gracefully come out of this. Okie dokie. And now we come seated facing your foot bar here. So my heels are up against my box. Now please, if you have any issues with big toes or anything, right, reposition your feet. No worries, okie dokie. So heels are digging into the box here. The box is not gonna go anywhere. My feet are about hip socket distance apart. All right, I'm gonna reach forward, take my hands onto the foot bar. I'm gonna come right up into a plank. Right up, press the carriage back and hold. Keep the energy back through your heels, even if you've lost the connection into the box, and just hold here for a second. Just see if you can find a little bit more strength through the legs, a little bit more lift up through the ribs. Option to hold here, or maybe we could do a push-up. Obviously my heels are gonna pull away from the box, that's okay, but I'm still thinking of them driving back. Could we do a couple more push-ups? Think of your chest almost coming forward and elbows angling back a little bit. So we find a little bit more of those armpit muscles that we just worked. Press yourself up, bend your knees in,
Sit the hips low towards the box because why not? And then press yourself right back out. Let's do 5 push-ups, or you can hold for your plank. Again, think sides of the neck long, legs are strong. I think that was 5. Bend your knees in, sit the hips back. This is your moment to maybe take a break. All right, press it right back out. Let's do 5 more, you got this. 5 and 4. Stabilize that carriage. 3, you got it. 2, last one. Woo. Bring it all the way in, and lower the hips down. Okay, quick intermission before we do the other side. Let's bring the soles of your feet together. So my knees are gonna go nice and wide. My heels are together, but they're also pulling in to the box. I'm gonna interlace my fingers here. Hands go behind the base of my skull. So think half of your fingers on your neck, half of your fingers on your skull. All right, so legs and hips don't move. Just side bend up and over to the right. Think of that head just gently pressing back into your hands, and then lift right back up. We lift up and over to the left. Right hip stays down, and then back up. So even here, I want you to think broad upper back rather than super wide elbows. Last one, up and over, and back to center. Now keep your head tractioning up and into your hands, and now just lift and twist to the right. Keep pulling your heels into the box, and then back to center. We lift and twist to the left. Legs stay nice and wide, ribs stay in, and back to center. Lift and twist to the right. Now stay in your twist to the right. Can you bring your left elbow towards your left thigh, keeping your ribs pulling back and keeping the weight into your hips? And then we stack back up, center, to the left, up and over. Keep pushing the knees wide, pull the ribs back and up, and then up to center. One more time each side. I'm hoping this feels good. Let that tailbone curl under, maybe push into the feet a little bit. That did the trick. And back up. Last one. Up and over. Round up and over. Keep the head to hand connection here. And then we stack all the way up. Find center and lower the arms down. Oh, even my forearms were working there. Okay. Let's see if I can remember all the stuff that we did on the one side. So box is going to come down. If you're using it, still on that light spring. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do first is those side plank things, okay? Make sure, like if you had to move your box a little bit, make sure it's scooted a little bit further up or back. All right, every side is different. Give yourself some grace. So I'm on my left forearm here, and I'm angled at this kind of 45-ish. My hand is on the box. And if your wrist started to bother you, you can angle your fingertips kind of away from the reformer. That should be a little bit nicer on the wrist. So once again, I'm thinking of lifting my left chest, left ribs up away from the reformer. Let's go ahead and just go out to that plank and pause. Just hold, right, we're square, and then bend the knees, come right back in. And once again, I need to move my box forward. So as you're going out and in, again, how stable can you keep your upper body? How light can you get in your right hand right now? Let's do 2. And 1, press it out, hold. Can you stay square? Widen your feet if you need. Could you take your right hand off? Even just take it to the carriage here and just hold. 2, 3, hand comes down, bring it back in. Press it out. Ooh, try to get square. Maybe lower the hips down a little bit. Oh, and bring it in. Press it out. Take the hand off. Use it as a kickstand if you need. And now let's pivot. I'm gonna turn to the right and back to center. Keep lifting the chest up away from the reformer. Sides of the neck long, y'all. Keep drawing the left shoulder away from the ear. 2 more. Last one. You got this. Keep the hand down if you need. Bring it in. Come all the way home. Anybody else feel that shoulder? Holy cannoli. Okay. Let me compose myself. Lunges. Standing. Okay. So you pick how you want the foot here. On the shoulder block. Maybe you try both. Heel up against the shoulder block. And ideally thighs are in line with one another to start-ish. All right, let's go out into our lunge. Pause here. My left hip is spiraling back, my left hip is going forward. Once again, I'm gonna find my happy place with my spine. It might be a little bit forward, might be a little bit upright, you pick, and then bring the carriage right back in. And again, do whatever you'd like with the arms. I know for me personally that my left low back is my tighter side, and it takes a lot of effort on my part to not go there. So if you're like me, maybe take your hand in that upper left butt cheek and just feel like you're tractioning it down just to create a little bit more space there in your spine and your low back. And of course, we're trying to keep equal weight into all corners of that left foot as we're going up and down. I feel like I'm going into my toes a little bit more than my heel. Okay, now go out into that lunge and hold here. Take both hands behind your upper butt cheeks if that's available. I want you to round your spine, tuck your tail. We look down. That left knee is right over the center of the foot. Lift up through the ribs. And now we're gonna bring that carriage in and press it out. So the temptation that I find for most people and even myself is as I press the carriage out, that's when my back wants to arch, that's when my pelvis wants to move. So the leg may not fully go straight. In fact, for a lot of people, it won't. That's okay, that's not the point of this. Left leg, left hip stable. Really driving back through that back heel. So many things, so many things. Let's do 3. Lift up through the ribs, keep dropping the tail. Last one here, press the carriage back maybe like halfway. And now can we lower an inch and up an inch? Lower an inch and up an inch. I hope I'm not forgetting anything on this side. Ooh. Go down a little bit lower, up. Go down a little bit lower and up. Hello, left hip. Find your inner thighs. Let's do 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Come all the way up. Oh, okay. Let's wipe away the frizzies. All right, so left leg. I know I said maybe have a turnout, maybe that's what I was doing for me. If you wanna have more parallel with your left leg, do so. Your right leg obviously is turned out. So I'm gonna drop my tailbone. Think of finding this long, tall, flat back. And then before we even press out, I want you to push down, almost as if you were pulling in, but also like you were gonna just step right up to the right. All right, I'm gonna press the carriage out and then I'm gonna pull it in. So do a few without leaning over to the right and just see what that feels like. I feel like it's a lot more work on my standing leg. And this motion is the same motion that we did in that footwork where we had our toes looking away from one another. We're just doing it on one side. And then allow yourself to lean over a little bit more and just test the waters. And as my knee bends, it's almost as if I was thinking of like it was gonna come behind my shoulder. And then maybe I can lean over a little bit more. How does this side feel compared to the other side? Tighter, looser, more in control. I can tell you mine feels not as tight, but less control. Maybe go over a little bit further. for 2, and 1. Now go, there was a hip pop. Now go to the place where you feel strong. For some of you, you could have a straight leg. It is completely up to you, okay? Feel strong and stable through right knee, right hip, and now we glide out a little bit. It's a lot of work on that left inner thigh, and then we pull the carriage back in, right? We glide out, still staying tall and lifted. Make sure you're not leaning forward. We're just really upright here. And then we push down to kind of drag it back in. Try to keep your right heel somewhat lifted. It's not crazy high, but it's not sinking. Anybody else feeling your right granny panty muscles here? That right hip. Couple more here. There it is, there it is. There's my hip. And then resist back in, last one. And then resist to come all the way back in. Awesome work. Good, let's go ahead and just step down. So we're gonna end with a little spinal articulation. So let's do 2 mediums and 1 light spring. So keep the light spring that you just had on, and then let's place 2 medium springs on. Yes, it is a heavy spring, but I want it to be heavy for more of a stretch, but also more supportive, right, when we do this. Okay, so we're gonna be seated facing back end of the reformer. My booty is pretty close to the edge. For my more petite people, you probably have a lot more room to work with, so you may not have to be as scrunched up as say the longer folk out there. Okie dokie, so I'm gonna choke up. I'm gonna start with my hands onto the buckles, and I'm gonna see if that's enough, and we can adjust accordingly. So I'm gonna lean back a little bit and go, okay, this is the tension that I'm working with here. Pretty good. My legs, they don't have to be zipped up. It's totally up to you. But from here, I'm gonna let the springs or the straps kind of pull me forward. And I'm gonna feel my tailbone tuck under, and I'm gonna push into my feet. So your feet are on the headrest, I'm pushing into my feet, and see how that can like deepen the opposition and maybe the stretch in your back. And then keep the push into your feet as you roll yourself back, round back, really tuck the tail. Low back is gonna hit the mat. And then obviously there's no support for your head. So if you can, I want you to go back, let your head fall back into the well, really roll the shoulders open, like flare the ribs, find a good morning stretch, take a big breath in, and then on your exhale, start to nod your chin, draw the ribs down, look down your center line, round through the upper back, let the heavy spring pull you forward, round forward, stretch forward. Maybe even take your arms in between your legs and push your elbow or push your knees wide and stretch forward like that. And then shift the arms out wide again. Roll yourself back again, push into your feet, lift your butt creases up to really get the low back into the mat. And as we go back, right, again, just let the head be heavy. Arch the back if that feels good. Maybe wiggle the tail a little bit. And then on your next exhale, you pick the weight of your head up, look down your center line. Sometimes I like to lift my arms and take them out a little bit. I feel like that helps me come up, come up, come up. Take the elbows inside if that feels good. And then take the arms outside. We roll back, last one here. Try to relax the neck on the way down. Make this feel good, y'all. And then carefully nod your chin, roll yourself up and over, and then stretch and round forward. Y'all, you are done today. We did a lot today. That was a lot happening. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know anything that you struggled with, anything that you enjoyed, liked, disliked, all the things. Let's chat about it. I appreciate you being here and moving. I hope to see you again. Thanks, y'all.